Today I have the co-founders of TipSnaps, Lyonel Dougé and Boddie. How's it going, guys?
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I got it's hot here in Chicago, but the son had a good day of daycare, so I can't complain. I cannot
There you
complain.
go. There you go. But yeah, that's what we ask for. Kids are good, family's good. That's a blessing. So we're good.
Awesome. So I'll do like a brief, like poor man's version introduction of TipSnaps, and then I'll let you guys kind of take it, whichever one. So TipSnaps is um, it helps creators monetize their content, point blank. I think I saw in an interview earlier, Lionel said it's the idea came from Instagram with a paywall. So if you create content, the whole point for TipSnaps is for you to be able to monetize and not have to wait for some algorithm or some type of advertising deal to be able to monetize your content. How'd I do?
Pretty good. Pretty good. There's now, I think, as social media continues to evolve, the creator economy, which is basically the tech categorization of where we play, as that evolves, there's a lot more nuance, there's a lot more niching, there's a lot more specificity. But overall, the idea that the literally hundreds of millions of creators that fuel the $400 billion social media industry, the fact that they should be kind of more equitably getting some of that money, I think that's the general concept.
Awesome. I love that because, and we've talked many times, I'm very passionate about this too, kind of with my own business. We're in this world where, and you tell me if you agree, everything shifted from trying to monetize people's attention, and all the money came from advertising. And I think that there's a shift that you guys are doing along with other platforms in trying to monetize your value, monetize what you make. And I love the fact that you guys are emphasizing and really focusing on the people of color, African American community specifically, because we tend to drive culture a lot.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head that we kind of recognized it pretty early on, and Lionel can attest to this very early because we were really found it right in the really early infancy of the creator economy in 2016. And you kind of saw it really early on that Black and brown creators weren't doing as well as their white counterparts. And it wasn't because their content wasn't as good. Matter of fact, their content was great because it was driving, like you said, driving the culture. It's getting a lot of likes. But what we saw was that the platforms themselves had these algorithms built in, and it was really difficult for Black creators to get to the same status level as far as likes, as far as brand deals, as far as just kind of the social media accolades that creators and influencers look for. It was harder for them to get there. And so recognizing this and recognizing that there's this big gap, and the gap was growing, I guess we call it a wealth gap in the creator economy. We saw it growing, and particularly it was along gender and racial lines. We understood that there was we as Black people, we need to kind of work with each other and try to build each other up. And so we kind of leaned into our mission to support Black and brown content creators. Now, again, with diversity, equity, and inclusion aspects of things, it's sometimes assumed that it's exclusionary, like you're excluding people, because we get some folks saying, well, are you just focused on Black creators? Like, no, we're focused on all creators. But what we're doing is we're just making sure that Black and brown creators understand that they have a home here and that they can come here and be free to create their content like everywhere else. And they'll have a fair place to kind of operate outside of other social media platforms that really kind of dictate those things for the crowd, instead of allowing creators to compete for their fans and also compete for their money.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that. So before we kind of dive into kind of where the idea came from, how did you guys start the business? As you guys know, this podcast is a balance of inspiration, but also tactical. So like, how do we give people like those nuggets on what's going to help them tomorrow with their business? But talk to me a little bit about how the business works, right? I understand I'm going to charge for my content, but is it any type of content? Is it photos? Is it audio? What can I do on TipSnaps?
Great question. So yeah, you said it earlier, Instagram with a paywall. So I mean, it's a social media site. It's a mobilely optimized website. It is not an app. We stay out of the app stores intentionally because if we worked within them, our business model wouldn't work, and we'd have to pay like a 30% tax to Apple, and Google's payment processing isn't great either. I'll get more into that later. But it's a mobile website where you as a creator can, within a few seconds, obviously for free, set up your profile, upload content, set your monthly subscription price, and then now you have your unique link that has, it's TipSnaps / whatever your username is. You take that link and you share it across your incumbent social media platforms. So your Instagrams, your TikToks, your Twitters, wherever you're at, Snapchat. We are not replacing those platforms. What we are doing is we're saying you have 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, or even 500 followers. A fraction of those followers would pay you money on a monthly basis to see exclusive content across any niche, right? We could be in hair and beauty, we could be in fashion, we could be in music, athletics, whatever it is, fitness, travel, home and garden, whatever your content is about, just hoping for CPMs, like a fraction of the ad revenue from YouTube, not monetizing at all on Instagram or Twitter or TikTok. That is not equitable, right? Like, great. Maybe you'll get a brand deal if your engagement metrics are really great on Instagram. Maybe a brand will reach out. Maybe they'll answer one of your DMs or emails so that you could get paid from them to promote their product. We're not saying stop that, but you know what's guaranteed? At least anywhere from 0.25% to 1% of your fan base will subscribe to you at $10 a month at least once. And then from there, it's up to you to ensure that your content is engaging so that they resubscribe. And so what we say is everybody's a creator, whether it's 100 followers or 100,000 followers or 100 million followers. It'd be great to get one of those creators on TipSnaps. But yeah, effectively, we have a couple other transaction types. So we have the monthly subscription, which is the most common way that creators make money. They set the price, $10 a month. They have their content. They say, hey, I do hair and beauty. I do tutorials on YouTube. I've got the 1-minute video here on YouTube, but if you want the full 10-minute video, you got to subscribe to my TipSnaps. Podcasters can also host content on TipSnaps, right? It's just audio, photo, videos, whatever it is. We host it. It's hosted on TipSnaps. We also have the one-off tip. So like you as a fan could say, hey, I want to pay you for this specific hair and beauty tutorial. You never kind of showed us how you did that. You could do that. And what's really innovative, and it's our third transaction type, and we haven't seen it in market, is we allow crowdfunding for content. And I'll dive really deep into that because that's really innovative. It's really huge. But basically, fans could get together before the creator even knows about TipSnaps, and they could say, hey, we want to put $50,000 in a pot and request this specific piece of content from any creator on the internet. And they don't have to be on TipSnaps. So that's really innovative as well. So from the creator standpoint, the primary way that creators make money, they upload content, exclusive content, they set their paywall price, and their fans come subscribe to them through their existing channels. Like they click link in bio, they see TipSnaps, boom. Okay. But then the other piece is and obviously fans come and subscribe. But then the other piece is fans are like, you know what? I actually may not want to subscribe to this person. Instead, I just want to get together with like 50,000 other fans and offer them $1. And that's $50,000. Will this hair and beauty creator collab with this other person? Or will this dunk contest happen between these two dunkers? Or will this music collab happen between these two musicians? So we'll get more into that. We actually call that tip pools, but that's hopefully a real kind of broad view on how the product works.
No, that's awesome. And I'm really excited to talk about tip pools because when you first told me about it, my mind kind of blew up a little bit because I was like, oh, you basically took the whole game of if someone paid you $1 million, would you do this? And you made a business out of it. And that's kind of the coolest thing in the world. And like you said, I think it is very innovative because we really don't have that today. And I think, again, with the focus on Black and brown creators that, again, we've got the receipts, tend to drive culture. I think that there's just a really unique opportunity to kind of explode the market with that. Okay,
Yep.
but let's rewind a little bit. How'd you start? What was the first action?
Okay. So my background is, computer science, engineering. Vic's a microbiologist by training, PhD. I will probably get into backgrounds a bit, but how we started was I've always worked enterprise jobs at big companies, big Fortune 500s. I never felt like I was doing anything very innovative, just kind of taking orders from maybe folks who aren't necessarily on the edge of technology. Because, if you're working for a big pharmaceutical, they're good at making pharmaceutical drugs. They're not necessarily great at inventing the next like really good consumer web app, right? And so I just kind of got frustrated. I had ideas, and I felt like I was never really getting them out there. And I saw people that I just saw a ton of people like going for it. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go for it. So this is 2016. I'm scrolling through Instagram, and I'm seeing kind of everyday people go from 5, 10, 15,000 to 100,000 followers. And I'm like, this is happening in mass. This isn't just one or two people. This is like millions of people. And back then, link in bio, promoting something, that just wasn't really happening across the board back in 2016. So I said, okay, I need to build Instagram with a paywall. I need like this is a huge opportunity. So nights and weekends, started coding. In this room, started building. We got to a good MVP in March of 2017, and we launched. So the first action was really just being diligent and saying, it's time to build. And it took a while, right? Like, and I'm not going to say I had no experience. I'm not going to sell some kind of pipe dream and say, hey, anybody could scale I'm not saying don't follow, but I definitely had the formal education. I don't think you necessarily need the formal education, but that helped me. And then I had the formal kind of like, I guess, real world kind of enterprise experience, which I think definitely helped, right? There's no denying that. Because I don't come from a place of privilege. I wasn't going to just go in with the pitch deck to a bunch of venture capitalists and say, hey, give me $10 million to go hire an agency or a bunch of developers to build this. I don't know anything about that. I had no experience there. So just started building. And then I guess the probably critical action after that was like, hey, how do we acquire users? And back then, you could DM a person with 1 million followers, and you may get lucky and they may respond. And that's what we did. And so we got one fitness trainer who had 1 million followers, and she joined TipSnaps and started making money. And then there was a network effect where other fitness trainers and creators were like, what is that? What's that thing you're talking about? How do you make money? How does it work? And back then, again, that wasn't really a thing. So that's kind of how it started. And then to bring Vic into it, fast forward a few years, Vic and I have known each other for almost a decade. He's got incredible leadership, incredible business savvy. He's worked on a lot of biz dev stuff, but also his experience at the FDA. He literally led DEI, the DEI group at FDA. And based off our mission, it was like a perfect kind of marriage for co-founder. So Vic came in 2020.
Awesome. So I'm curious, Vic, what was it like for you coming in 2020 and kind of joining kind of this vision, this train that's already going? I'm curious, what was it like to join mid-flight?
It was probably one of the easiest decisions I've ever made, because I've known Lyonel a long time, and Lyonel's not a bragger. So Lyonel had TipSnaps rolling in the background. I mean, users, it was making money, it was just doing well. And when we would kind of discuss, because we're talking about our entrepreneurial goals, and we're like doing this literally meeting every Friday, and we're just talking every Friday for hours about what we need to do. And, he's telling me about what was going on with TipSnaps, and he's telling me some of the kind of, I can't say like weak points, but some of the weak points where I'm looking and I'm like, yeah, man, I can help with that, because that's my skill set. Some of the like building teams, organizational culture, like the direction, like where we're going. That's what I do at FDA. Like I manage stuff. Like I manage a bunch of people. I'm currently there, so I have 11 employees. Like I know how to drive teams, get people going, and I know how to like establish culture within an organization and kind of build out and grow from there. And I recognize that Lyonel's a builder, a tech builder. he does that really well. And it's just like, well, and so he just pretty much came to me and said, man, would you want to jump on and help me with some of this? And I said, hell yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Because, you know, for me, I've never, when Lyonel says something's happening in tech, it's happening. He has the receipts to prove it. He's been right. I can go back to it was a screenshot he took of something from like 2015 that he sent to me maybe a year or so ago. He's just like, this was my initial thoughts about TipSnaps. And it was actually tip pools. Back in 2015, 2016, he's thinking of this. So, and he was completely right about TipSnaps, the direction of like social media and where social media was going to go. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Like, I'm working with a low-key genius right here that no one else kind of understands or appreciates, but I like recognize it. And I said, well, yeah, let me utilize my skill sets and work with his skill sets. And, you know, together we've made a really good team. We work really well together. And because we respect each other as individuals and what we bring to the table. I think that's probably why we mesh well, where I know a lot of founders, co-founders don't really mesh as well. We do.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. Yeah, you answered my next question in terms of just the yin and yang that you guys have in terms of skill sets and just kind of trusting each other and respecting each other's skill sets. I think that's really powerful. I'm curious because I think this is a really good question. You said that you DM'd creators and you landed one, you know, fitness creator that had 1 million followers. How many no's or no responses did you get before you landed that one? Yes.
Yeah, left on scene or not read, probably like 200-300, right? But like copying, pasting a message to 100, you know, literally, it didn't feel like spam. It wasn't from like a bot. It was literally me copying and pasting, and I would like, you know, I staggered it like over like 2 weeks, right? So I wouldn't get like flagged by Instagram as spamming. So, you know, I was trying to pay attention to whatever their restrictions were, algorithm and levels were. So yeah, I didn't feel, it wasn't spammy, and it was truly like a call to action. Like, hey, you have 1 million followers, and even if 0.25% of them paid you $10 a month for your fitness videos, like that's worth, as Vic says, that's wealth gap shifting money at scale. And because a lot of, even though people are famous, they're not necessarily rich. Sometimes they're broke. So that is what, you know, I think, you know, fast forward, you know, now this isn't news. Now it's the creator economy. You know, Signal Fire, it's a big VC firm who's really focused in on the creator economy. And they've estimated it's $104 billion last year. And Forbes signed off on that and published that number. Linktree just did a study that there's 200 million creators across social media, and they kind of have tiers. So it's like 1 million followers and up. That's 2 million accounts have 1 million followers up. Between 100,000 and 1 million, that's another 2 million accounts. And then between 10,000 and 100,000, it's like 100 million. Some crazy numbers. Yeah. So okay. At scale, and then the growth of CGAR, the growth rate's like 32%. Fine. We know when we ask the average, you know, 5th grader, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? It used to be doctor, lawyer. Now it's YouTuber, influencer. So more born every day. We think that saturation is happening as well, both platforms, but also for creators, it's becoming more competitive. So, you know, it's all about, you know, the funny thing, and there's good memes on the internet. It's like Web3 came along and blockchain and decentralization is here. And there's this good meme of this dude at the gym holding up like a bike, like a gym bike, holding it like on like, I forget where it was, but like he was like in the air trying to pedal this bike on like a pull-up bar. And he was doing all this stuff, and it was a picture, and it says, these are Web3 founders building for the creator economy, stuff that creators don't even need. And what Vic likes to say is like, we are a common sense company, right? Like creators need USD today. Yeah, we're thinking Web3, we're thinking tokens, but they need USD quickly, and they need to get paid on a regular basis. And fans need a little equity too, and that's why we built, not little, they need equity. That's why we built TipSnaps. So we're just always kind of, and we also feel like we come from places that are different than the typical founder that's getting funded, and we kind of know people that they probably would never talk to, and that's an advantage for us. Yeah. Right? It's not like we're not out here like we're in the streets every day, but we kind of used to be, you know, and that's some perspective that like we just don't think we think is really important from like a leadership founder perspective, because creators are everyday people. They're from everywhere around the globe. So like, you can't just like look at subsets and say like, this is what a creator is. Like, nope, creators they look like this, they look like this, they look like this. And you guys don't understand them, but we do. Like when we tell venture capitalists that Black hair and beauty is worth $1 billion, they do not believe us. But we know, and we scraped YouTube. YouTube has 1.5 million creators who upload around Black hair and beauty, and we scrape off hashtags. YouTube's not going to publish, Meta or Alphabet's not going to publish this. Black girl magic, curly hair, whatever. We had like 10 hashtags, 1.5 million creators, and 1.6 billion videos around Black hair and beauty. What happens when they say we actually want to get, we want to directly monetize this content? Where does that, that's an insane market that nobody's talking to. Patreon's not talking to them. Not to diminish, but OnlyFans definitely isn't talking to them, right? Because we got a DM every week. Like, is this like OnlyFans, but not OnlyFans? And we're like, everybody's a creator, so we support those creators as well. But we also understand that mainstream creators kind of want their own home, like their platform home, and we want to help service them. I know I kind of went all over the place, but
I love that, because, and the reason why I asked the question is, it's hard to take a lot of no's, right? It's hard to take a lot of no's, and it is important to hear, like, yes, you sent this message 200, 300 times, and you finally got one yes. And once you got one yes, the ball started rolling. And so I think that one, I'm sure, is probably like this kind of sigh of relief and excitement of like, oh my gosh, I finally got one. But exactly what you said, that one turned into the realization of your vision. Like, you saw what was happening, and you saw that there was a real opportunity, and that one customer said, oh yeah, this makes sense, I could do this, and you were able to prove it out. So that's kind of perfect. I love that.
I think as a startup, if you have to expect no. Like that's all we still get no. I mean, we get like you're just going to get a lot of no, and I think that's really what separates people, is how, like, do you let them know? I mean, it's just do you let those no's stop you? Like, you got to persevere. I tell Lyonel, it's like, that's why we win, and that's why we're going to continue to win, because I just don't stop. We just don't stop. It's like you just persevere, and I think that's really if you don't have that kind of mentality. And I kind of compare it to, like, if you play sports, like you play basketball, football, or anything, you play any competitive sport. It's just like, I don't care if you're 6'5". I'm going to beat you in that. Like, I don't care. I'm going to beat you to the basket, and I'm going to dunk on you at some point in time. Might not be today, might not be tomorrow, but I'm going to dunk on you at some point in time. You're going to get dunked on. Trust me. And I think I think that's how you have to approach the energy of a startup, because if not, you'll fizzle out with 3 no's, because I mean, you work hard for something and you really think you're showcasing something well, and somebody comes back to you and they just really don't believe you, or maybe they don't believe in, maybe they don't understand it or whatever, but you just got to keep kind of pushing. And I think that's the key point I would want people to know, is just like, just got to persevere. Just got to persevere with everything.
And it also could be as simple as they're lazy. It's easy to say no. It's much easier to say no than it is yes. And you're right. Like, I love the quote. It's I don't know whether it was Jordan, Kobe, Steph, somebody said it. It was, if I've missed 12 in a row, that 13th shot's gonna go in.
Right. Yeah.
So it's that mentality of, you just got to keep going, because eventually the numbers will work for you, especially if you truly believe in what you're doing. So we've talked a little bit about some of the early stages, some of the challenges. You've touched on the VC part of the conversation, and I'm very curious to kind of talk about this, because on the podcast, we really haven't talked in detail about fundraising. It's come up a couple times, but not in detail. And so I'm really curious about, you found traction. You have a product that has users. I think the last time I saw it was like 450,000 users. Why isn't it easy for you to get VC money, especially since 2016, because it's been booming? Checks have been being written left and right. Like, what was that experience?
Vic, you want to start or you want me to go?
I can start. So I think we calculated it last year. I think we had over 40 VC meetings last year, 2021. And that's when all of the money was poured into the creator economy. I mean, the most money that has ever been poured into the creator economy was poured in last year. A lot of Web3, a lot of, just a lot of products, right? I'd say the experience, how can I put it? Just be really frank. It is an experience that it goes back to what we were just talking about perseverance, right? Because you're presenting something that you've worked on to individuals who may know or may not really know the space well. And you're trying to convince them that the product that you have and your traction and your vision and your mission and your mission is able to be sustained through a series of rounds of funding. Because a venture capitalist's goal is not to just kind of fund you and you make money. They want to see you go from round to round. They want to know and feel comfortable that if I give you $2 million in seed round funding, you're going to go and you're going to be able to raise a Series A at some, quadrupled valuation, right? And so for Black and Brown founders in particular, I think because we're not in kind of these homogenous groups of people who kind of went to the same schools, they went to like Harvard, Stanford, they have these background at these famed companies, they worked at Microsoft, they're at Google, they're X this, X DoorDash, X this. Like if you're not in those circles or you're not in that group, I think you automatically, and especially if you're Black or Brown, you automatically start to get some points down on the rung because it just takes them more to kind of believe in you because you don't look like the typical founder that they see.
Right.
And so what we try not to do, and what we kind of do is we talk about this. Lyonel and I talk about this often in our meetings. We say we try to control what we can control, right? We can't control how their vision of a founder looks or what they think a co-founder should be, right? We've gotten feedback about us and how we operate and our co-founders, and you're just like, I mean, it's kind of categorically false, but that was their interpretation of how they viewed us, right? And so what we do is we just kind of keep building and we keep growing and we do what we know is best for the company based on the grassroots level work because they're here. VCs are here. They're just trying to meet metrics. They're just trying to meet goals. They have their LPs to consider. They have their GPs. They have these partners that they're trying to fulfill, and the founders, and it just kind of makes them more comfortable to invest in founders that they can say that they felt comfortable because he went to Stanford, so it was good. Versus this guy went to Howard, this guy went to Hampton, that doesn't resonate well. And so I think those are some of the underlying issues with the venture capital ecosystem that makes it really more difficult for Black and Brown founders to kind of gain traction in that space. However, I think what we've seen is, and what Lyonel alluded to, like for an example, Web3, right? They poured so much money into Web3 last year into products, and this is no disrespect to any founder because we understand Web3 that's where we're going. But they poured Web3 into products that that our creators will never use, literally never use. And the reason I know they'll never use is because we got a DM in our IG today with a creator, and we do payouts, weekly payouts. Am I going to get paid this week? I mean, you get paid every week, but they're really concerned to remind the company or ask us, are we going to get paid out this week? And it might be $200, $300 for certain creators. They need the money. And so us having that kind of grassroots level experience in the space of the creator economy and understanding real people, what real people need, we build our products and we build things to help support them. And kind of support the community. And I kind of let Lyonel dive in there too a bit.
I just want to tag on it from the fundraising aspect and everything Vic, I co-sign. But it's not like we've had no success. We've raised a pre-seed round with some angel investors, which was, also it's almost like in the startup world, they basically like founders, like the founder, the CEO typically, and the co-founders, typically sometimes that's your job, right? Like just fundraising. So it's all about your positioning of the company, how you kind of express the opportunity, how you present it, and then where you're going and the vision for the company. And back in January 2021, we raised a small pre-seed round. And they're great angels. They're guys that, you know, we were able to meet just through you know, online, because they were interested in our space. You know, you get to know them. They're actively investing in startups, and they were actively looking at the creator economy, and they loved how we expressed it. I think so. Vic kind of alluded to it from a VC standpoint. It's not like we got a ton of no's, right? Like the fact that like Andreessen Horowitz is reaching out to you says enough, right? Like, hey, we'd like to learn more about TipSnaps. We're like, sure, Andreessen. Spotify or Shopify wanted to talk to us. Sure, Shopify, we'd love to talk to you, right? Like, but it's very much a keep in touch. Let us know when you get a lead, or just let's keep in touch. And what that kind of signals to us is you are not our lead investor, which alludes to like there's a couple reasons why you're not ready to jump in, right? And we hear this all the time. Investors are oftentimes driven by FOMO, right? It's kind of like a follower game, right? And you see that a lot. And so until you get that sign off, and so the points against us are, yeah, we're not FANG, right? We're like Johnson & Johnson, the FDA, you know, Sony, great organizations, great companies, but, you know, again, not like, you know, not like at the forefront of technology per se, or consumer technology. Maybe if it was maybe something more aligned with like, I don't know, biotech or something, or pharmaceuticals, maybe it would work easier. But this is our passion, right? Again, most of my background was actually media. So like I worked at Sony Music, Viacom, ESPN. So a lot of my traditional media background also kind of fed into, you know, moving into forward media. But I guess if I could like summarize it, it's not that we've failed at fundraising. We closed a pre-seed. We were actively crowdfunding on Republic, which again, Republic is they've got to like audit you. They've got to let you in. You can't. It's not like Kickstarter where anybody could create a project. So Republic is equity crowdfunding for startups, and they have to kind of accept you in, or they kind of reach out to you and bring you into their platform. So we're still very bullish on our fundraising efforts. We just want to make sure that we're raising at the right valuation. But what I would say to founders, especially if you look like us, if you feel like you're on the outside looking in, is consume as much as you can around, you know, pitch decks, you know, traction. They often say traction is everything. If that's the case, then, you know, we should be valued at like 5x. There's startups who literally were founded in 2021 and said they're basically, they do the exact same thing as TipSnaps. They had no users, they had no product, and they raised $1 million on like a $10 million valuation. Like, I don't want to name them, but there's like 3 of them by large venture capitalists. So it's not about traction, and we didn't necessarily talk to those VCs, but it's not just about traction. It's oftentimes about the founder, what circles you're in. So, you know, it's not a great it's not a great answer, right? Like, and when we do raise like $50 million with traditional VCs, maybe I'd have a better answer for you. But right now, what I would say is, obviously, if you could get traction on your own, if you could build like a revenue generating business on your own, focus on that. But if you don't feel like you can, but you just need a little money to do that, obviously there's accelerators. I think probably accelerators are great for a lot of startups. I think for us, considering how far we got along bootstrapped, for the equity that an accelerator is going to take for the amount of money, probably, unless it was like a just no equity, right, just like courses and stuff. But like, yeah, for us, it didn't make sense. But if you're pre-product, pre-revenue, pre-product market fit, might be a great way. And that's like very common knowledge if you're really kind of paying attention. So, but yeah, we would like overall, yeah, we'll confirm that like we have now it's 463,000 registered users. Last month we had like 80,000 unique visitors to the site. We did about, I don't care, we'll say it, we did about 18K in revenue last month. Gross marketplace volume. Creators are earning money every day on TipSnaps. And when it comes down to, I'd say if like you're a large VC and you're looking at TipSnaps, you're like, well, is this black and brown niche really that compelling that, it's gonna beat the OnlyFans and the Patreons and whoever else, Meta, Instagram is activating subscriptions for creators very slowly. right? Why? Because they've got a huge working business model in ads, but they have to offer subscriptions for creators, or else companies like us are going to eat their lunch. Now, how are they doing it? They're rolling it out so slowly. They've activated like 1,000 or so creator. It's like peanuts compared to how many creators should be able to monetize. Why are they doing that? Moderation, right? If they just carte blanche turn it on, I could just turn on subscription, set my price. There's going to be a neo-Nazi making $100,000 off Nazi videos on Instagram, so they can't do that. Okay, we get it. But at the same time, there are everyday people who deserve to be monetizing now. And imagine when Meta figures out moderation. There's still gonna be the issue of equity, right? Creators like the Black TikTok strike didn't happen for fun. It happened because creators of color were coming up with the trends, as you said, driving and creating the culture and getting zero credit. And now TikTok released a credit feature, but who cares? Like, who cares? You got credit, great. Like, I got credit. Dude, like, you guys just ran like $100,000 worth of ads on top of my video that went viral with like 60 billion views or whatever. Give me some money. And why aren't they doing it? Look, I mean, ultimately, there's probably additional risk that maybe we're not even aware of, but we just know that is any form of media, like when there was like 3 TV channels like CBS, ABC, and NBC, and then fast forward a couple decades, there's 1 million TV channels and there's 4 magazines, and fast forward there's 1 million magazines. There was one type of radio station, and fast forward there's 1 million radio stations. One type of music, and fast forward there's 1 million types of music. It has to happen in the creator economy. There has to be a home for the creators that we're specifically focused on, and we're not even talking about tip pools. And so when VC, like we're somewhat kind of ahead of the game, and this time we're not asking, we're just taking. With tip pools, we're just taking, and we know we could do it because we're going to do it in a way that, and we're not going to, kind of show all our hands here, but like we're really bullish on tip pools. So hopefully we can talk about that.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's this. Your business is just very fascinating because these social media platforms are all competing for attention, right? And so as a new user of any social media platform, I'm hopeful that someone stumbles upon my content, right? But the moment I start getting those kind of natural stumblers, then it's like, oh, well, I've got 100,000 people and I'm still investing time, money to try to keep these people entertained because I am their new TV channel, but I'm not monetizing it. And so it's interesting because I say your business model is interesting is because as they migrate to a TipSnaps, they're bringing their audience. It's not like they're, going to start from scratch. They're bringing their audience, and oh, by the way, other people's audiences are already in this place. So it's actually really interesting because a lot of other kind of creator economy companies, they have the chicken or the egg problem that they've got to balance. And you guys kind of address that because your suppliers already have their demand with them. They just need the ability to monetize and the ability to pay it. So it's really interesting. I'm shocked. I'm genuinely shocked that there was just that struggle to raise funds. And I understand, like you said, it's if you're not from that background of big tech or those companies that kind of operate in that Silicon Valley space, it becomes hard to justify, like, okay, well, why am I going to give you $1 million because of an idea on the napkin? But from an economics perspective, it's just shocking to me. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to add one thing on what you just spurred. I tried to start raising money in 2018. I met an amazing VC who did a lot of plugging for me, like trying to connections and landing meetings, which I got some good meetings. I'm gonna say I don't care. NEA, huge, right? Huge fund. First round capital, Quake Capital. I spoke to all 3 of them in early 2018. This is before the creator economy was really coined. Like we were talking about the gig economy. We know that like food delivery service companies they've like funded hundreds of those type of companies, even though there's like 3 huge ones who are already winning. I had 100,000 users within our first year of business, 100,000 registered users, and we did about 600K of volume, gross marketplace volume. I made it's my first kind of pitch deck. Again, I don't know what a friends and family round is. Nobody in my families can invest. So it's like, I have this thing, we have 100,000 users, we've done $600,000 worth of volume. Our business model, we have thin margins, right? We pay out the creators 90%. So we have 10% of our revenue. Yeah. And then from that, 5% goes to Visa, MasterCard generally for payment processing, chargebacks, fraud, et cetera. So we're really like a 5% business, but still $600,000, not bad, right? Like for first year of business, one guy in his bedroom. Imagine if he had a little funding to scale this. This is 2018. This is before anybody heard of OnlyFans, and Patreon really wasn't doing much. And you know what I heard back? This is influencer marketing. That ship has sailed. I'm like, no, this isn't influencer marketing. This is yeah, they're influencers, but they're just charging their fans directly. So what that told me is, after about 10 no's in 2018, looking back, with that type of traction, one guy, that says they don't trust our instinct. Right. To me, if I'm the black guy from Stanford, Harvard, or I'm like in a FAANG company, they might, but I'm not. And so you're just this guy off the street, and that's where we're kind of tired of sugarcoating it. And there are a lot of black VCs out there, and it is starting to change, but even that, it's not even just race. Again, it really is. So we wish, Vic and I talk, I have a sports background. I played soccer at Pitt, and Vic played football. And so we both kind of, it's not like sports. Or a lot of other spaces, you just compete and it's just right there. But venture capital dictates the huge Fortune 500s of the future. They dictate who the next Zuckerberg is, or Elon Musk. It's not just magic that they're pure geniuses and they just appear. No, billions of dollars have been poured into these individuals' ideas. And when none of those individuals are black and brown, well, then our worldviews get suppressed. And then, of course, all the systemic hiring issues and leadership and boards issues that are all out there today, and where we are trying to climb and say, hey, let us in. And they're kind of yeah, we should change things, but right? The only way we truly change it is when we have the ownership. And we're not on full militant stuff here, but this is true. It's true. Until we are helming the companies at the leader, at the top, and we're all right, this is how this organization is going to work, we're probably going to keep running into the same issue. So you could tell we're passionate about it, because
no, it's real. It's real, and I think it's super important to put it on the table. One of the things that I'm big on is nothing changes unless you talk about it, right? And so it's not placing blame, it's not pointing fingers, it's just being honest and saying look, this is the reality. This doesn't make sense for one guy on his nights and weekends that has a full-time job can build this much traction, and no one or very few people are interested in being you know what, I'll bet on that, right? That should be audited, right? That should be really, really investigated. So kind of one of the things I do want to talk about, and kind of we've alluded to it or talked about it a little bit, is you guys are working full-time jobs, right? You guys have built this company. It is growing, it's doing well, and you're still working full-time. I'm sure part of that is a funding topic, or there's a component about funding, but how have you guys managed that? How have you guys managed working your full-time jobs? You're both married fathers. How are you doing this? Because I tell you, I'll be honest with you. I quit my job last month. I couldn't balance it all.
Yeah, I think we're just maniacs. I think that's probably the best way to describe. Lyonel's a super maniac. He's a maniac. I'm a maniac, but he's a maniac.
No, Vic's a maniac.
It's just the drive. So it's out of a function of a necessity, right? It's not we would prefer to spend 10, 12 hours a day on TipSnaps and driving tip pools. That's what we would prefer to do. That's, but we're post-revenue company. We're making really good money. but our money goes back into the company. We pay bills. We, have our marketing. We have our support staff. So we're paying. So we're not paying ourselves, and in turn, we have families like you alluded to. We have, young kids, daycare. We have the same kind of reality that most regular folks have. I mean, because we're regular folks too. So I actually think that kind of gives us an advantage to a degree. It sucks because you're tired. Like, I mean, you're just really busting hump, but it gives us an advantage because I just think that our like the work, the time that we put in is just we put in. Like when we're working, we're working. Like when we're grinding, we're grinding. Like, and I will tell you, I'm up all night on Twitter trying to talk to somebody, email somebody. I'm trying to do something. Like I'm all night. Like, I can't stop. Like, and it's just like I said, it's just something that you just have to be passionate about. It can't be, because it is a painful process to, work a day job and then, have these emails that you've just been fiending to respond to and get to it for TipSnaps. You're like your passion, and then you get to them, but then you're going all night and you have kids and you have daycare pickups. I mean, it just really is a function of you got to really be in.
Yeah.
And like I said again, like we do. We're expecting to do really well on Republic. If you don't know, we're on Republic. TipSnaps, you can republic.com/TipSnaps. Go, check us out there. We have some really good videos there to kind of showcase who we are as a company and what we're doing. But in essence, we're planning to raise money there, and hopefully we plan to be able to quit our jobs in the next year or so and be able to really devote the time that this company needs, even though we're still devote the time that it needs, just kind of begrudging ourselves and sometimes our families, which, but anyway, that's just kind of the nature of it. I just tell Lyonel, I just call ourselves maniacs. I tell them every day, we're just low key, we're just kind of maniacs with this. It's kind of ridiculous, but
it's necessity, as Vic said. It's necessity. You got mortgages, you got bills to pay. Like I mentioned, our margins, we're 10% business. Half of that goes to Visa, MasterCard. At scale, we can make billions. Until we have that amount of user base, which by the way is out there, because if you look even June of 2022, if you go and look at natural hair and beauty creators across the internet, and you just start clicking around and saying how many of these creators are on Patreon or on another platform, they're not. And you could say the same thing about NCAA athletes. You could say the same things about comedians of color. You say the same things about children influencers of color. Children influencers have there's insane numbers. And how many of their fans or the parents of their fans would fund them, right? $5 a month. And then it goes their college fund. By the way, we haven't even talked about tip pools. So we're so bullish that there's tons of opportunity. We estimate the untapped creator niches that we're focused on. It's about 10 of them. That's $15 billion of market opportunity, and then tip pools it just complements it. So it's exciting, and we know that regardless of funding, we're still going to capture a bunch of the opportunity. So
right. So I'm curious. You seem to be kind of a visionary when it comes to kind of tech and what the market's going to do. And so, you think of TipSnaps, it clearly proves you right. You're thinking about tip pools. I 100% believe in this. This is the 1990s pay-per-view in today's ecosystem. So it absolutely is going to work. It makes sense.
That's a hell of a way to describe it. That's true. Yes.
So now I'm sitting here thinking, what does TipSnaps look like in 5 years? Is it the next feature that's going to be revolutionary, or do you actually see the company evolving into something different?
No, we want to scale, so we feel like we're just going to be. Again, I think what's really important for us right now is making sure that we keep the vision of the company really tight. That's why when we close our next round, or when we start to scale, just continue to scale bootstrapped, when we start hiring leadership we're literally like focused on, we need a Black woman helping lead this company to ensure that where we kind of go culturally is in line, that it doesn't change or shift. So that's specific to TipSnaps, because again, we're kind of focused on niching. Right now, Tip Pools is kind of broader, right? We don't have to feel like it's very broad, it's untapped. And so we do think that there's a possibility, and that we're going for, that Tip Pools could just be a utility, right? Because like the idea of uploading a picture and sharing it to your friends is a utility, but there are specific companies who are winning, right? And the idea of having a subscription behind your or in front of your content, it's a utility. It has to happen. Crowdfunding is across all, I guess, sectors of the internet, whether it's real estate investing. I use Fundrise. It's pretty good. Equity crowdfunding, Republic, we're on it, right? Charity, GoFundMe. So social media needs crowdfunding. And I love the way you express it. 1990s pay-per-view, or what would you do for $1 million if you got paid $1 million? Would you do this? So we really see Tip Pools as an opportunity to be utility for the internet. There are fan communities all over the internet, whether it's Reddit, whether it's Discord, whether it's Telegram, these fans, or whether it's just in the comments on Twitter or Instagram, they are there. They care. They're DMing the creators, but the creators are too busy because they have a million other DMs. So how do the fans get any voice? How do they just say, this is actually what we want to see? We want to see you guys do X. I want to see you guys collab with this person. Do a podcast with that podcaster. That would be an amazing conversation. It's all in the comments. But how do we actually motivate the creators? Well, we all petitioned and we put $5 against it, and 50,000 of us here. Would you do it? They might. And so we really see Tip Pools as a utility for everybody. We think, the big creators, it's obviously really exciting to think like, what could we ask Cardi B to she collab with Nicki and finally squash that beef or whatever? Could we see Steph Curry do a 3-point contest with Ray Allen? I don't know, what could we get big celebrities to do? But what Vic always points out, it's like, it's about the smaller creators. Imagine the TikToker with 50,000 followers who could actually pay their car note this month off a Tip Pool. Hey guys, I'm raising $500. You guys want to see this happen? Just join the Tip Pool and I'll make it happen, right? So where else we're going to take Tip Pools is free, right? Like we do think there needs to be a free option, because some creators may not want to make money off of it, or they may just want to get but they need the cohesive what do you guys want to see? And it's unfortunate that, that it's not unfortunate, but it's unfortunate that they don't have that ability now. And so, we know other companies are going to, copycat, rip us off. You can't necessarily IP this, unfortunately, but we know that based off our cultural, North Star, we know we're going to win in a different way than anybody else.
So I like one thing that Lyonel always talks about that I agree with is in 3 to 5 years, you'll see a scrolling ticker across CNN, and it's going to be from TMZ, and it's going to be some really salacious Tip Pool with somebody that's just culturally, and it's going viral, and everybody's going to know. And it's the same thing with ESPN. There's going to be some Tip Pool about some athletes competing, doing something against one another. One athlete say they're better, so it's like 1-on-1. Or dunk contest or whatever. Right. You name the niche, you name the type of whatever. It just goes, and that's the beauty of Tip Pools. It goes across all niches. So it's just this kind of revolutionary. We call it a revolutionary feature that most people don't know they need right now until they know they need it. Until they need it like that, and that's like with any kind of tech product. It's like I didn't really know I needed this, And so I didn't really know I needed Calendly until I needed Calendly. Like you need it, right? So we view Tip Pools the same way. We're bullish on it. We know it's going to happen. So our goal is to kind of continue to right now, since it's really early, continue to kind of explain it in a way that people can kind of receive it and understand it, and then kind of get people to recognize, like Lyonel said, the utility of it. Like this is a tool that both fans can use and creators can use, because a creator could use a Tip Pool just as well as a fan, right? Like the creator in essence can say, hey, I saw you guys in the comments saying you want this, I'll do it. I've set up a Tip Pool for $1,000 to do the content. You guys subscribe, because you got to come to TipSnaps to, you have to be a member of TipSnaps to even to even sign up. So you sign up, you join the tip pool, and you make it happen. And so we just see it as a way that when we call it the ultimate fan engagement tool. It's a way for fans and creators to kind of get out of the comments and kind of engage with one another, but put some money behind it to make it valuable for everybody, right? And then, to us, it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I just had an idea. I'm gonna create a tip pool of versus Jay-Z versus Drake, and then you guys should add like a betting feature where I could put my money on Jay-Z.
Hey, that'd be really cool.
Great feature.
Yeah.
I don't know if our payment processors are going to let us gamble.
No, they would come gunning for us like tomorrow. They'd be like, you got to take this down like right now.
No, that's a great feature. People are going to want that. So yeah.
I want to be mindful of time, and I know we're going to probably have to transition a little bit to some of the quick hitters, and of course you guys can elaborate as you want. But I'm curious, as a fellow entrepreneur in the creator economy, right? I agree with you. I think that there's this everyone's a creator. We've used all these different labels. Everyone's a creator, right? And so as we kind of see this kind of, I'm going to use a Web3 term, decentralization of content, decentralization of media, decentralization of every single industry. What are some of as you guys have thought about your business and you are kind of shaping your business for the future, what are the kind of massive trends that you're looking at and you're just like, that could be really interesting for us, or that's really going to move the needle, or this is a new opportunity for us to uniquely add value to our customers? Is there a specific trend that's brewing that you guys are really excited about?
I mean, maybe we didn't, hopefully we probably hit, we probably spoke about this already with tip pools, but that's really where we see it. We think that aside from the niches of creators who are still kind of gaining the consciousness that they need to directly monetize, and that irregardless of the incumbent platforms enabling and activating that kind of subscription ability, irregardless of that, we still know that there's going to be a need and value for a platform like TipSnaps. We think that, that trend is that there's saturation happening for creators. When there are, there's 6 million paying patrons on Patreon, across hundreds of thousands of creators. And so many, imagine when that 1.5 million Black hair and beauty creators activate subscriptions, 1.5 million, and they're all going to make money. But, after 2 months of subscriptions, maybe a fan's kind of like, her content wasn't great, or his content wasn't great this month. It's been kind of lackluster. I still like them as a creator, but I wish they would, I wish is our trend that we recognize. I wish, and I sound like, Said the Entertainer has a funny joke of using that, but I think that's the trend. We wish that this creator would do this, and that we think is worth billions of dollars, and we know anybody who's paying attention would probably agree. So
how many times have we wished that an athlete would compete with another athlete? Well, how many times have we wished that some person would be on the same song with another person? How much? I mean, how many times have we wished that this one favorite artist would perform this song, or would do a duet with it? How many times have we wished something in the comments, or just said it to our friends just randomly and casually, and it just kind of is left in the space? It's left in the ether, no one, and there's no action behind it. There's no tip pools. It is an action. Now you have an action to those comments, and it's kind of like putting your money where your mouth is now. Before, you were just putting you were just talking, and it was just I wish. Now there's a utility to put your money where your mouth is. Literally, I want to see this. Oh, I can actively petition this. I can show it to all my friends because we all like this same person, and and once it gets to a level, you know, that creator will see it, because once the money is there, I don't care who the creator, I don't care if it's $50,000, you know, somebody's going to want to see it. You know, even major celebrities, if you got something, a pot waiting for you for 50K, you might want to check that out. You might want to figure out what's going on there, you know? So we just, you know, we're really, really bullish on tip pools. I don't even know how we can kind of describe the excitement that we're receiving on social media when we kind of tease content or like tease the concept of tip pools. It's just like, whoa, what is this? It's kind of like salacious. Like, is this real? Is this so? Like, it's generating a lot of energy right now. So we're bullish.
I love the excitement, because there's and I think for listeners, I think this is a unique opportunity, because I think that, you know, for people that are looking to become entrepreneurs or they're in the process of being entrepreneurs, a lot of these platforms that they use today to try to grow their businesses are monetizing them, but they can't really monetize themselves. And so I also, in my mind, see an opportunity for listeners to be able to leverage kind of TipSnaps in a unique way, and know this isn't sponsored or this is an ad. It's just kind of me thinking through it. But what's interesting about tip pools that it also makes me excited is you've created a bridge between the art of the possible and reality. And like, there's really no way to do that now. Everybody kind of monetizes what it is. And you've saying like Lyonel, like you said, how can you present a opportunity based off of a wish? And that's a really cool. So no, I'm excited for you guys. Like I agree. I'm bullish on what you guys are doing as your fellow creator economy entrepreneur. Like
we're bullish on what you're doing too.
I'm actively thinking about how to leverage your platform for my business too. So let's hit with some quick hitters, and I'll get you guys out of here. What books have you guys read that you'd recommend to other entrepreneurs?
I'm actually, just being frank, I'm not huge on books. I'm really, I think, huge on obviously, like, just, I would say, because oftentimes, and I don't want to come from a place of like sound bougie or anything, but oftentimes I think people undervalue like experience, right? Like even family members who are entrepreneurs who just want to like, hey, I'm just not going to ever have a formal work for anybody. I'm just, I'm going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg. And I just want to encourage people. It's not that you can't be, but it's like, you've got to, unless you have this exceptional, right, like ability that's almost proven that you've like gotten confirmation, you're likely an average, kind of not average person, but you're likely like most of us. And you get a lot of value working for others and learning from others. So I would not say that starting a company at 35 is a failure, right? Like 25 is probably great, especially in tech, but you really should work for people who are doing what you want to do, or like in the space, and learn from them. Work for companies who are doing things that inspire you, and kind of try and work for them. And then obviously there's tons of like the internet has changed the game on accessing. It's so amazing what type of information is just out there, even on Twitter feeds, on LinkedIn posts, on YouTube videos. It's all out there to be taken, and there's opportunity everywhere. So I would say, whatever you are passionate about, go to those Reddit threads, go to those Reddit subreddits, and look for opportunity. If you want to be like, there's a great thread on Twitter that basically there's probably 1 million businesses in Reddit subreddits, on subreddits. Like if there's 80,000 people in a community, there's a business to be had in that community. What are you really passionate and good at to build a business there? So that's kind of what, there's publications like Slashdot that's really good for nerds and tech people. Obviously there's a ton of great tech publications, but That's me personally. I think it's like, what are you passionate about? Get really become so like ingrained in it that you become an expert, and then figure out what tech is needed for this community. And that would be the best. And before you do that, don't just think you're gonna build this huge platform with no experience in building anything. Either partner with somebody, or if that's not your skill set, are you really good at selling? Right? Can you just build community? Can you build 100? Can you get 40? Could you get 40 people to like comment on one of your posts and really be engaged with one of your posts, right? Are you a community builder? So there's so many, pieces of value that anybody could bring to a company. But for entrepreneurs, that would be my advice.
Yeah.
Dick, sorry if I.
No, that's. I mean, I'm aligned with you. It's going to sound really ignorant. I'm a doctor. It's going to sound really ignorant, but the best information that I've received thus far on startup is on Twitter. There's a huge contingent of VC, and Lyonel put me on. There's a huge contingent of VC. That's where they live. They live on Twitter. And the phenomenal part about it, which I think is better than what you would get in a book, they put these Twitter threads out explaining their process for finding companies, their process for fundraising, how you should be thinking about fundraising, how you should be thinking about how a VC thinks about their opportunity with you, like what their expectations are, what their GPs, their general partners, what their expectations are as far as what they're doing. And they put them in these long Twitter threads, and that information there is gold because that's current, and that is the exact thought of the economics of the VC, because VC is based on the economics of the world, right? So, global economics. So they're literally sitting there and they're telling you they're regurgitating to you what they know that their GPs are talking about, and so they're giving you this information in like 10 years, like this wasn't available. Like there wasn't a book for like you couldn't get this information. Like this information is right there and it's free and it's living on Twitter. And the great part about it is you can engage these people and ask questions and allow them and they'll give you feedback. And so as a person in startup, the best thing you can do, and I will tell you, I didn't want to get on Twitter. I mean, I wasn't on Twitter, but I got on Twitter and I learned about startup VC, specifically startup VC and Twitter. And I just kind of follow thread and I read and I ask questions. I reach out to people and you'd be surprised. They give you great feedback. So that's my suggestion.
Both just really good advice, and also advice we hadn't heard before, recommendations before in terms of, I've heard the saying, and I guess Jason mentioned, he said, word of wisdom, learn on someone else's dime. and I think that's a very good point. Like, your experience is a fantastic teacher. And then also the book of Twitter. Like, I also I have a Twitter. I don't use it that much. I need to use it more, but you're right. I've seen some of these VC threads and you're just like, holy crap, I could write 5 pages of notes off of 10 140 characters. It's meaningful and very useful stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it is, and I was just like you, man. I don't even want to get mixed into the Twitter. It's just a whirlwind on Twitter sometimes. But if you connect into the right population of VC, specifically VC Twitter and startup Twitter, so you're talking to other founders as well, because other founders are walking you through their problems. So particularly founders in your space, they're walking you through some of the problems that they're dealing with, and they're having discussions about the problems with other founders who are actively solving the problem. So you almost can get answers to a lot of the questions, and some of the questions you may not even have right now, but you will. There'll be problems that pop up or arise at some point in time, and they can kind of help you answer those. So I almost think it's sad to say, but Twitter is the best place for you as a startup founder, period. You just kind of got to live there.
And we're not saying like, don't read books, like absolutely read books, read as many books as you can, fundamentals. And I'm sure that there's like more modern books that really kind of help you deep dive. And honestly, it's probably one of my weak points I feel like I'm so laser focused on what's happening that, and I have a ton of background, I have a ton of formal education, and I read all the time, but it's more about like, what do I need to consume to best service our business, right? And that's kind of where we are. And they just happen not to be. We don't feel like it's like in a book. It's probably more, like is alluded to on Twitter, like literally maybe consuming some content from a creator dancing is more valuable for us than, you know, I don't know, you know, something about how to like make my pitch. Oh, by the way, Fiverr and Upwork. So for what you're not good at, please hire others. That's one huge piece of advice. And maybe that's a question. Hire others. And there are incredible, talented people offshore who just for now, they're working at incredibly low rates. But don't feel like you have to learn everything. That's definitely a mistake I made. I felt like I had to learn everything myself, do it all wrong. Do what you're good at, hire others early on with your own money if you could get it, if you have a little extra, and get stuff done.
Yeah, I agree. Recognize your strengths, lean into your strengths really hard. And for the things you're weak at, you're not good at, find other people to help support you. That is the key. You're not going to win without that, because if you try to conquer worlds that just aren't yours, that just aren't your thing. I mean, you're just spinning and you're outside of your space and your comfort zone when you could be devoted to what you're good at and really be driving, right? And I think that's important.
I love it. I love the laser focus. What is a question that I should ask the next guest?
You asked some good questions, so I'm kind of stumped.
Thank you.
You know, I guess maybe you're going to ask this, but like, you know, what would you do different? Maybe. And maybe you're going to ask us that, but actually I am cheating. That was on your list, but we just didn't get to it, and maybe we're going to end. So, but yeah, that's we definitely could look at that. And I think we kind of alluded to some of that, which is like hire others. Don't feel like you have to learn it all, do it all yourself. Really laser focus, become expert at what you think you're passionate about. Because if you have the passion, you know, we're passionate about social media, about media, about the creator. We care, like we're fans of so many creators. So like, it's easy for us to be passionate about this. And then we're passionate about building equity. So it's like really easy. Like if you get 1,000 no's, if you believe in the thing, you're not going to stop. You're just not going to stop. So like you could like just till the wheels fall off. I mean, not to your detriment, right? There's a really bad episode of Shark Tank where this guy built this game that nobody was going to play. He sold his house, he got a divorce, he sold his car, and he had nobody cared about this game. And it was really sad to see this guy he never was ever going to quit on it. So like, obviously you still got to live in reality. So don't leave reality, stay in reality, but also, as Vic said, like, you know, we're not quitting, we're not losing, we're not quitting. So like, yeah.
I think that stay in reality is good. I think that's the reason why we're still working our day jobs. I think that's really the key, is to read, you know, because it could have been really, it wouldn't have worked for me personally, but you could have easily said, I'm just going to quit and just live in my passion. I'm just going to do this. But that doesn't really fit. That's not Black and brown people's narrative most times. You know, some people can, and it's really good if you can, and I would encourage it if you can, because then you can really have time to build your product. But just be mindful that, you know, you're going to have to experience, if you're not in that position, don't just kind of jump off the ledge if you haven't prepared. You know, I know you prepared, but like some people will just jump off the ledge and just be like, I'm going to make it happen because I'm passionate. Doesn't work like that. That might work for other people who have family backing that can support them, that can pay stuff if stuff go bad. We don't have that. We don't have that. So I would just say, just do what you can do just to stay afloat with your, you know, stay afloat, but then kind of just, and I say mean stay afloat, like make money to support your family, support yourself, but keep that passion kind of burning and just do what you got to do. And I think that's what Black and brown people are really good at. And I think that really gives us the advantage over many of our counterparts, is they haven't really experienced some of the pain and the historical, like generational pain that we've experienced within this country to kind of know how to grind and grit it out. Like they're not experienced in that. Now, I often talk about it on Twitter. It's like the Black, and there was a big deal like when the economic downturn recently happened, is all VC Twitter, all startup Twitter was doom and gloom. Like the world's closing, no more money, there's no more funding, everybody's slowing up, people have to fire people. And all the Black founders are looking at each other like, nah, everything good here. Because we've been used to the grind of, I call it the streets. We've been in the streets. Like, we've been here. We know people in it. We're grassroots. We're like in the trenches. We know the people we're working with. Nothing changed for us. Not one thing. Matter of fact, our stuff got better during this downturn, because it's just the way we were built this way because of our experiences. And I just say, just live in that passion that you're doing something now that your ancestors were not able to do.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're a Black and brown fan, like, you're doing something you weren't allowed to do. You weren't even allowed to dream in this way. So do whatever you got to do to get to your dream, but be smart about it and make good decisions.
Okay. And I love the point you made. It's just like, can you get 40 of your friends to support what you're trying to do? Because that's a litmus test, right? That's a good litmus test, because if they're real friends, all 40 of them will say, this is stupid. Right. But if it's got legs, I think that's a good check mark to say, you know what, okay, now I've got to do the preparation, right? And I love what you said. Like, if there's a game, I think Black and brown founders, we have a healthy amount of defense. As much as we want to play offense, we have a healthy amount of defense. And so I think that there's a power in that. There's a value in being able to think through, okay, how do I prepare for this big leap that I'm going to make? And if I don't need to take a big leap, I won't. If I can turn my business profitable like you guys have without leaving my job, I just have to grind it out. And I think that's just great words of wisdom, because I think that there are moments where I think a lot of people feel like they can't achieve their goals just because I don't have enough time. I don't have it. Okay, well, scale it back. Try to do it within the realm of your control.
What I want to add to that one point. What I tell Lyonel is what I say with me, and it's hard, is you gotta pick and choose, like, where you go, like, your day, right? Like, you have to pick and choose where your passion is going to go that day. Is my passion going to go on these work emails that I'm just working? Is that going to be like my full passion, or am I going to save that passion for my passion, right? And something that's going to build me and build generational wealth for my family. The day job, I'm not knocking the day job. We have them; they're great. Everybody needs them. That is what sustains us. I'm not knocking, but I'm just saying, don't put your everything you got there. And then you leave your business and you're so tired that you can't even send an email with your business after work. You literally have to just say, nah, I'm gonna take that easy. I answered that well. It doesn't have to be great, but I'm gonna really go ham, because this is my thing, and this is what's gonna bring generational wealth to my family, because these folks aren't giving it to me. These folks are taking. They're taking from me. I need to put my energy, my mental prowess, my being here. And I think that's.
Yeah, I've said this quote a number of times on the podcast, and it came from a season 1 conversation. It was, my job's my side hustle, and I keep my side hustle in a box. I keep it under control, and I have unlimited energy and time for my business. And I think that mind shift is super powerful.
Absolutely, keep it in the box, and I like that. Keep it in the box, and just because I think. The opposite was, like, before you awaken to this entrepreneurial landscape, we as Black people were told, get a good job at this good company, go to a school, get all these degrees and do this, and then you'll be this. And then you get there and you're just like, these people aren't letting me in anywhere. They're not letting me grow to my potential. I can't meet my potential here. I can't be what God has intended me to be here in this space, because they're just systemic things are in place that are going to keep me here. It's hard for me to get there. So instead of putting your energy trying to get there, if you have a dream, you put it there. And you put the other thing, like you said, in a box. You keep it on chill. You do what you got to do to keep the day going by, not to get fired. You do your work, do it decently, and then you put your passion here. And that's the way I take it.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. I don't think this has been incredible, man. Thank you.
This is an awesome podcast, man. Thank you.
Dope, man.
You are awesome. We're so excited for you, Yensel. Like, dude, we'll be watching this
Amazing.
podcast in a few
Yeah.
years and like, yeah, remember when we were, you know,
Yeah,
that was fun.
we'll
We should do
all be
another
on the
one.
beach somewhere. Yeah, we'll be at, man. I mean, Yensel's dope, man. How's Yensel doing? Oh, man, we're doing, 1 billion ARR this year. We're doing excellent. Like, that's amazing. That's amazing. You're buying drinks then.
Hey man, listen, we're gonna grow these things together. Like you said, the creator economy is growing, and it's 200 million people that are making media. I think that there's at least 60 to 100 million knowledge workers who aren't making media that don't even realize they're creators yet. So I think that our companies together are really going to be shaping the future, and I'm excited for us to have connected this early and support each other and grow and change the world. Sounds crazy, but we're doing it.
Yeah, that's cool, man. We're changing the narrative, and then while we're doing it, we're gonna pull the young boys and women from behind us and bring them up. That's the goal. We're nothing if we're not pulling them back up, from behind us. That's the key.
Absolutely. All right, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey, bro. Thank you, man. Take care.
Have a good night.
If you found this video to be helpful, please like, subscribe, or leave a comment. If you're an entrepreneur and want to share your journey and be helpful to others, please hit us up on our social media channels, or you can shoot us an email at behelpfulpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks. Be helpful.